New babe.
What's good, TMG fam? It's your boy L, and I'm back with another reaction. How y'all feel? Welcome back to the channel. Salute. So listen, we back with another BuzzFeed Unsolved Network mystery style video, right? This one is called The Creepy Murder in Room 1046. Kind of make me think of the movie Murder at 1600. I remember with what's his name? Wesley Snipes. Wesley Snipes. What happened to Wesley Snipes, man? He used to give you a good movie every now and again. Seemed like ever since bro hit that tax evasion situation where he had to like leave the country or something like that, we ain't really caught too many good ones. You know what I'm saying, from him like we used to. Blade was good. What else was good from him? Murder at 1600 was good. Of course, the ever so classic New Jack City. You know what I mean? I gotta watch that at least once a year. What else he did good in? I can't think of nothing else. But anyway, you got it. See how I can just float off? Ooh, just float off. But nah, I'm back. So we're gonna check this out, man. Murder in Room 1046. Let's go.
This week on BuzzFeed Unsolved, we covered the creepy death of Roland T. Owen. I gotta say, this one really gives me the willies.
Gives it little goose pimples?
Yeah, I don't like it. I read about this one at night, much like some of you watched this at night, and I was not a fan of some of the small details. There's things in this that just...
Your ruffles, your jimmies?
Ruffles my feathers, yeah.
Ruffles your feathers?
Ruffles or rustles, it could be either.
I don't think so.
I think it could be rustles.
All right.
Well, rustling, you could like rustle through the brush.
Agree to disagree.
Sure, whatever. On Wednesday, January 2nd, 1935, around 1:20 p.m., a man calling himself Roland T. Owen checked into the Hotel President in Kansas City in room 1046. Witnesses said he was aged anywhere from 20 to 35, with brown hair, a scar on his scalp visible above his ear, and a cauliflower ear. He was nicely dressed in a black coat. The bellboy, Randolph Probst, helped Owen to his room, where he reported that Owen seemed to have only packed a brush, comb, and toothpaste. The maid, Mary Soapdick.
What's her name?
Oh God, I know she's a maid, her name is Soapdick.
I'm trying to move back.
What a really funny big laugh you got out of that. Look how happy you are. Oh man, what a gem of comedy.
I wasn't gonna laugh until they started, bro. Then I couldn't hold it.
We've mined here today. The maid, Mary Soapdick, said Owen allowed her to clean while he was in the room, but asked that she not lock the door on her way out because his friend was about to visit the room very soon. Soapdick said that Owen kept the shades tightly drawn.
I was about to say, this sounds like he's supposed to be meeting a woman. You know what I mean? When you only bringing a toothbrush, a comb, and whatever else that was, it sounded to me like you meeting a woman. It's supposed to be quick. We're here. Maybe y'all are having an affair. You come in here to meet up with each other, do what you do, and then roll out. Like, this ain't an overnight thing. This ain't none of that. It's just quick wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. That's it.
And the lights off, with the exception of one dim lamp. Other staff members who entered the room also mentioned this detail.
I don't want to be in the room when they're in there. That's scary.
Yeah.
I imagine him just sitting in a chair in the corner, just a shadow man. Clean it. Clean the room.
I think you're getting Anton Chigurh vibes from this guy.
Fluff the pillow.
According to the maid Soapdick's statement to the police, she felt that Owen was, quote, either worried about something or afraid, end quote. And that, quote, he always wanted to kind of keep in the dark, end quote. At 4 p.m., Soapdick returned with new towels, finding Owen laying on the bed, completely dressed, in the dark, with the door unlocked. She also saw a note that read, quote, Dawn, I will be back in 15 minutes. Wait, end quote. It's weird, right?
Yeah. I would not go back into that room.
If you were the maid?
No.
Yeah, I think that's a good instinct to have. If you see a guy laying on a bed in the dark, awake, just like looking at you, I think that's your cue to leave. The next day, on January 3rd, Soapdick came back to clean the room at...
It should be protocol like, yo, something ain't right about this dude. Maybe you need to run it up the chain or something like that, fam. You sitting on your bed, all your clothes on, in the dark, just staring off into space or something like that. Like, what is wrong with you, fam? No, you gotta leave my hotel. Out.
10:30 a.m. She noticed that the door had been locked from the outside and assumed that Owen locked it as he was leaving the room. However, Owen was sitting inside, again with the lights off, which meant that someone else had locked the door from outside the room. While Soptic was still in the room, Owen answered a phone call and said, quote, "No, Don, I don't want to eat. I'm not hungry. I just had breakfast," end quote. Repeating, quote, "No, I am not hungry," end quote.
What hotels allow you to lock a room from the outside?
This hotel did.
It's weird. I would imagine you could just call the front desk and say, "Hey,
I'm locked in my
let
room.
me out of here."
It's just my thought is, who is this person that's locking him in the room, or who is he waiting for that he's sitting in obedience in the dark?
Well, if this guy's a weirdo to begin with, he's got weird friends.
Okay, I guess that's fair.
Weird attracts weird.
Soptic came back around 4 p.m. to deliver fresh towels. She heard 2 male voices from inside the room. When she knocked, she heard a rough voice say, quote, "Who is it?" end quote. When she explained that she had fresh towels, the man said, quote, "We don't need any," end quote. Even though there were no towels left in the room. During the night, a woman staying in room 1048 would report hearing loud voices, both male and female, cursing on the same floor. Though, there was apparently a party going on that night in room 1055. Now things begin to get very strange. The next morning, on January 4th, around 7 a.m., the hotel phone operator noticed that Owen's hotel room phone had been off the hook for a while without being in use. So, she sent the bellboy Probst upstairs to 1046. Despite the locked door having a "Don't Disturb" sign, Probst knocked a few times and heard a low voice say, quote, "Come in, turn on the lights," end quote.
Nah. You can't pay me enough at this hotel for me to go in there and check this out. No, you need to alert the authorities, bro. Phone been off the hook for a long time. What do you mean? Go up there and check that out. Man, I probably make what? Even back then, he was probably making $1 an hour or something like that. No, I'm not going to check. You go check it out.
However, the door was locked and no one was getting up to let him in. So after knocking repeatedly, Probst said, quote, "Put the phone back on the hook," end quote, assuming that Owen was drunk. Around 8:30 a.m., about an hour and a half later, the phone was still off the hook, and another bellboy, Harold Pike, let himself into the room with a passkey. Using only the light from the hall, the bellboy Pike observed that Owen was in bed, naked, and seemingly drunk. He also noticed that the bedding was darkened around Owen. The phone stand was kicked over, so he fixed it and put the phone back in the receiver.
They went in there and they saw this person on the bed with dark stains all around them, and were like, "Chill. Those are your sheets.
He's obviously making himself into a sundae, nothing to see here.
Right.
Let's go back down to the front
Don't
desk."
just leave. Stupid.
At approximately 10:30 to
Maybe they thought, oh, he's just sweating blood. Nah, that's nothing. People do it all the time when they get drunk. Like, what, bro? You see stains around them. They're like, nah, I'm going to just put the phone back on the hook and I'm going to just leave. Let somebody else find them.
10:45 a.m., the phone was once again out of the receiver. They sent the original bellboy Probst to resolve the situation. When he opened the door, he stumbled upon a truly horrific scene. Here's his statement to the police. Quote, "When I entered the room, this man was within 2 feet of the door on his knees and elbows, holding his head in his hands. I noticed blood on his head. I then turned the light on. I looked around and saw blood on the walls, on the bed, and in the bathroom. This frightened me, and I immediately left the room and went downstairs," end quote.
And it seems like everyone kept checking in to be like, "Let's make sure nothing horrible is happening here." Oh, seems like it might be. We'll give it another hour. And then an hour later, okay, yep.
This murder's not ripe yet. It's not ripe yet for the plucking.
Yeah.
Also, the way they found him,
Imagining that is truly horrifying.
he said he was within 2 feet of the door on his knees and his elbows, holding his head in his hands.
Like,
No, not like that. He's not taking glamour shots. Nice of you to come in. I'm dying.
just blood.
Owen was discovered with extensive injuries. He had been tied up with a cord around his neck, wrists,
Does that mean the killer was still in there the first time he went in there and saw him laid across the bed? He could have still been in there, fam. See?
and ankles. It appeared he had been tortured. Blood had even gotten on the wall and ceiling above the bed.
I'm a little tired of people being so aghast that blood is on the walls and the ceilings. Of course blood's gonna get everywhere. A person is beating the shit out of someone and stabbing them.
It's also, I mean, come on, it's a visceral thing to imagine that someone's getting beat so heavily that blood is splattering everywhere like a Tarantino flick.
Yeah, well, that's what happens. If you put your finger in a cup of blood and just went,
Okay, wait a
there's
second.
blood on the ceiling.
Wait, what? He had been hit repeatedly on the head and his skull was fractured. He'd also been stabbed in the chest several times. His lung was punctured. There was bruising around his neck that could mean he was strangled. Remarkably, Owen was somehow still alive though. One of the detectives to arrive on the scene would ask Owen about anyone else who had been inside the room. Owen responded, quote, "Nobody," end quote. Although he was hardly capable of talking and not fully conscious. He explained, quote, "I fell against the bathtub," end quote.
Hell of a fall.
I know. So in this scenario, he falls against the bathtub, rolls over into the bed, and then starts bouncing up and down so the blood splatter goes onto the ceiling and walls.
Yeah. And probably bouncing on the bed so hard that he hits the ceiling a few times and breaks all his bones.
And fractures his skull.
Yeah.
You know, I bounced my head off the bathtub and I thought I'd go for a little bounce in the bed.
Jesus Christ. And tied himself up somehow?
After this brief exchange, he was completely unconscious and was taken to the hospital. According to a doctor, the injuries on Owen's body had occurred 6 to 7 hours prior to Owen being discovered.
It's a long time to bleed.
That means that by the time when they first went to go check on him, when the phone was first off the hook, he was already injured at that point. He was already bleeding out.
What do you think the stained sheets was showing, bro? What do you thought he was sweating blood?
And still said, "Come in, turn on the lights." Unless, of course, it wasn't him. It was Don waiting to do more murdering. Detectives found no weapon, nor any of Owen's belongings in the room, therefore removing suicide from the equation. 4 fingerprints were found on the phone stand, potentially from a female. Owen would die after midnight on January 5th at the hospital. When Owen initially checked into the hotel, he mentioned he was from Los Angeles, but Los Angeles authorities were unable to find any record of a Roland T. Owen, bringing into question whether that was the victim's real name. His body was placed for viewing at Melody McGilly Funeral Home. As the story spread, more and more people began reaching out to Kansas City authorities to see if their missing loved one could be Owen, to no avail. Next, police focused on the mysterious Don, that Owen referred to several times while at the hotel. Don was also conceivably the man with the deep voice that the maid heard through the hotel door. Nevertheless, the police's search returned no results. Owen's upcoming burial was announced by the Journal-Post on March 3rd to be in a potter's field. However, the Melody McGilly Funeral Home received a call from an anonymous individual who said they would send the money necessary for providing Owen with a proper funeral. Somebody knows who he is, and my suspicion, what if it's Don? Here, because
Don is a very tough love kind of guy.
I suppose, I mean, there's 2 reasons why he would not give up his killer, right? Love, or maybe he was being entrapped somehow. Like maybe there was some kind of leverage against him.
You think this was
His family. Only way you not is if they got a drop on your family. That's it. You know what I mean? That's it.
a lover's quarrel?
It could have been. Why would he pay for his funeral if he killed them? Or, like, and if it wasn't the killer who's paying for the funeral, why wouldn't that person just step forward and be like, yeah, that's fucking Jerry?
Right. The plot thickens.
It does indeed.
This is a thick-ass plot.
This one's thick.
Plot is thick as hell.
Juicy. This is a juicy peach.
Oh, it's a juicy peach, all right. And I got juice running down my chin.
Sure enough, on March 23rd, money, bundled in a newspaper, was delivered to the funeral home from an anonymous sender. Funeral flowers were anonymously arranged with the Rock Flower Company, along with a card that said, quote, "Love forever, Luis," end quote, placed on Owen's grave.
And I'm just going to start sending flowers to people's funerals and say, love forever, Luis.
You should just say, "Love forever, Shane," and a picture of yourself. Like that.
But then people are going to ask me questions like, why'd you do that? And I'd say, it's a funny joke. And they'd say, this is a funeral, you know?
Skipping forward about a year and a half later, in 1936, a friend of Ruby Ogletree found an American Weekly piece chronicling the Owen case. Upon looking at the magazine, Ruby would correctly identify Owen as her son, who left Birmingham in 1934. Owen's actual name was Artemis Ogletree, and he was only 17 years old.
Wow.
Sounds like a Harry Potter boy.
What?
That sounds like a little Hogwarts student. Artemis Ogletree?
Oh, okay. I thought you were referring to the context of the case. It sounds like the story of Harry Potter.
No, things turned out better for him.
Yeah, I think he went on to have great adventures.
Yeah, he wasn't brutally murdered in a hotel room. That would be a rough end to that tale.
Ruby Ogletree, his mother, had actually received 3 letters from her son in the spring of 1935. However, these letters were delivered after Owen's death and were typed. According to a sensational newspaper account of the murder case, this was especially suspicious because Artemis didn't know how to type. This article also reported that the letter's tone was, quote, slangy and unfamiliar, end quote, to Ruby Ogletree.
Is it weird back then that you could just pretend to be someone?
You could still do that today.
Nah.
I bet you I could check into a hotel right now and say my name is
So obviously the killer has to be somebody either close to him or really, really knows him well. For somebody to send him the notes that you were sending to your moms or whatever, and really be able to try to portray yourself in those notes, they got to be close to you. So I would start there. It's got to be somebody close.
Ricky Goldsworth.
But then they're going to say, oh, do you have a credit card, sir?
And I'll be like, oh yeah, this is my my friend. I'm just putting it's just a deposit,
That's
right?
not going to fly. They're going to put handcuffs on you right away. Where'd you grow up, Ricky Goldsworth?
Oh, I grew up down the road.
Where? No. What city?
Oh, New York City.
You grew up in New York
This
City.
is happening in New York now.
What's your mother's name, Ricky Goldsworth?
Lucy Goldsworth.
What's her maiden name?
Lucy Gold.
See, crumbling.
Well, I wouldn't stumble like that. I'd have a prepared response. And
You'd be
they'd
firing them off?
be firing him off, and I'd be like, what's the fucking holdup? I'm trying to check into a room, and you're giving me a goddamn inquisition? Is this how you treat all your customers?
All right.
Who do you think you are?
That's fair.
Huh?
Okay,
and I
that's
poke
fair.
him in the chest like this. Huh?
At this point,
Huh,
I'm giving
Buster?
you a room. All right? You did it. You win. You win, Ricky.
After some time, it was revealed that Artemis Ogletree had also stayed at the St. Regis in Kansas City with another man, possibly Don. In the early 2000s, Dr. John Horner, the author of an exhaustive account of the murder case published by the Kansas City Public Library, received an out-of-state call about Artemis Ogletree. The caller claimed to find a box containing newspaper articles about the Ogletree murder in a deceased elderly person's belongings. According to the caller, there was something else in the box, something else that had apparently been referenced in the newspaper articles. Unfortunately, the caller did not say what that item was. After that, the case would have no further revelations and would disappear into obscurity. And with that, let's get into the theories. The first theory is rather simple, that the man referred to as Don beat Artemis Ogletree to death in room 1046 and acted alone. As mentioned before, it came to light that shortly before his death, Ogletree had stayed in a different Kansas City hotel with another man, possibly Don. Don was also conceivably the man with the deep voice that the maid heard through.
Now, we could say that, like they said earlier, it could have been a lover's quarrel. Back then, it wasn't so as accepted as it is today. And people finding out about you living that type of lifestyle, oh, it'd be bad news for you. Bad news for you. Like I said, it wasn't accepted like it is now.
Through the hotel door. But even if this theory is true, the police were never able to figure out who Don actually was. The second theory is that the unknown Don didn't act alone. This theory relates to an observation by Charles Blocker, the elevator operator the night of the murder. His observation also perhaps sheds a little light onto who Don could be. The night of the murder, Blocker saw a, quote, commercial woman, end quote, going to the 10th floor. The elevator operator estimated that the woman was 135 pounds and about 5.5 feet tall. She had dark hair and was wearing a, quote, coat of black Hudson seal or imitation Hudson seal, end quote.
What is the commercial? What a commercial woman?
She would look like she was dressed in very nice clothing, so they called her commercial woman.
What?
Anyways, I didn't make up the name. That's what they called her.
She looked like the Pine Sol lady.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, she was hanging out with the Brawny guy.
She was next to a big, tall, bald man in a white t-shirt.
Yeah, it was her, Brawny, and Mr. Clean. They all went and they just went off on adventures.
Sure.
Blocker claimed this woman was looking for room 1026 to meet a man she was unable to find. It's possible that this woman was looking for Ogletree and had mistaken room 1046 for 1026. This commercial woman was also seen with a man from the 9th floor, a man that the elevator operator said was the same height and weight as the woman. Some speculate that this man could have been Don. If you'll recall, there were fingerprints, potentially from a female, found on the phone stand, and a woman staying next door in room 1048 reported hearing loud female and male voices cursing. So it wouldn't be unreasonable to suspect that this commercial woman and the man from the 9th floor could have been responsible for what happened to Artemis Ogletree. However, there is nothing official on the woman or the man beyond what little is on the internet and my own personal speculation. The third theory comes from many sensational articles published in the following years that suggested Ogletree was killed for being unfaithful to his fiancée. I'd like to call to mind the announcement in the Journal Post that Ogletree would be buried in a potter's field. The announcement that appeared to prompt an anonymous caller to fund Ogletree's funeral, according to a sensational article published in the Newcastle Sun called Mystery Murder in Room 1046. That sequence of events went a little differently. The article states that a woman called the local paper to say, quote,
Yeah, but y'all think she did all that damage? Remember, blood on the ceiling, blood everywhere, pool of blood. You know what I mean? I feel like maybe, yeah, they could have been arguing. Maybe she brought somebody with her to kill him. Maybe that was the case. You know what I mean? Maybe he was trying to keep it hidden, the affair hidden. I don't know.
You have a story in your paper that is wrong. Roland Owen will not be buried in a pauper's grave. Arrangements have been made for his funeral. End quote.
I'm going to start using it.
A pauper's grave?
Well, just a pauper's as sort of a descriptor. Like if I get a subpar salad,
Oh, this is a pauper salad.
I will not eat this pauper salad.
Or if you get like a hotel room that just has a view of the parking lot or the freeway, I'm not gonna sit in this pauper's hotel room.
Front desk, yes. I will not accept this pauper's view.
This is Ricky Goldsworth. You know what the deal is. Do you want me to come down there again? Didn't think so.
Man, that guy's scary.
Yeah, he's really scary. When asked to identify herself and what actually happened to the man still known as Owen at the time, she replied, quote, "Never mind. I know what I'm talking about. He got into a jam." End quote, before hanging up the phone. At the same time, a man called the funeral parlor where Owen was held and said, quote, "Don't bury Owen in a pauper's grave. I want you to bury him in Memorial Park Cemetery. Then he will be near my sister. I'll send funds to cover the funeral expenses." End quote.
These people hate paupers.
I think maybe that may have just been slang for the time.
Was it?
I mean, it seems, unless these two people just love saying paupers. Either way, the more important detail to mine from that is
Sister's grave.
Sister's grave.
Right.
Did they look into the cemetery and see?
We're going to get into that.
Great.
Well, kinda. The man apparently explained that Owen had jilted a girl he was engaged to, and that in room 1046, Owen the man and the jilted girl had a, quote, "little meeting," end quote. Before hanging up, he said, quote, "Cheaters usually get what's coming to them," end quote. Shortly after, the Rock Floral Company received a call asking for, quote, 13 American Beauty roses sent to Roland Owen's funeral, end quote. The voice added, quote, "I'm doing this for my sister," end quote.
Yeah. It was he cheated, unfaithful. Only a woman gonna kill you and then pay for your funeral. We not doing that, fellas. We not doing that. We not. If something happened to you from us, it just happened to your woman. You know what I mean? She has that type of etiquette to herself that where she can do that and still love you. Once we did something to you, we done with you. A woman can still love you.
These poor people at this funeral home are just trying to make a nice little occasion for this brutally murdered man. And they have just this cartoonish cast of characters calling them up to deliver these grisly, grim messages. If I'm working at that home, I'm getting fed up.
You want to come do the job? You want to do my job? How about IBU and UBV?
Show up. Why don't you bury them, asshole? Stop just calling me. I'm busy.
It's fucking annoying.
You know how hard it is to reconstruct this man's skull?
Other than that, the mysterious death of Artemis Ogletree has been left to collect dust on the shelves of investigators, with no other possible leads or clues. To this day, it is unknown what truly happened in hotel room 1046. Was Ogletree held prisoner? Was he actually punished for cheating on his fiancée? The case will unfortunately remain unsolved.
Yeah, that's a tricky one, man. You got to be careful out here, man. It didn't matter if it was 1930 something or 2021, man. women are deadly out here, bro. I'm telling y'all, man. Sleep with one eye open. You out here wilding in these streets, man. Sleep with one eye open. That's all I'm gonna say, fam. Y'all let me know what y'all thought. This one kind of took you on like a roller coaster ride. You know, it will leave you at certain stops, and you have several different ways this could have possibly went. And, you know, I can see why this gave the police a tough time to try to solve. And with not enough evidence or anything like that, yeah, this one's definitely going to remain probably unsolved at this point. So, but yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. Now, I don't want to stay in no room 1046 from now on, period. I go to a hotel, give me 1045, give me 1047 or anything around that. But no 1046, bro, or I'm not sleeping. And definitely not next to Queen. You know what I'm saying? Y'all get at me in the comment section though, bro. Let me know what y'all think, and leave a like, share the video. Oh, how we not gonna run the likes up, man? How we not do that at the beginning of the video? I'm tripping. You know what I mean? I gotta make some people mad. Run the likes up. Y'all get at me. Till the next reaction, I'm out. Peace. Y'all stay solid. Ayy.